In the woods of early spring, a teenage red-haired girl was working and reading poetry. She was immersed in a world of poetry, imagining the tragic fate of the Lady of Shalott. But a shout put her back to the real world. Her name is Anne. Her parents died when she was young, and she grew up in an orphanage. In this family, she has to take care of the 3 pairs of twins, and her small body was overwhelmed. If there's no imagination to accompany her and no window friend Katie to talk to, Anne has long lost the courage to live. After the male host of the adoptive family died, Anne was sent back to the orphanage. She was depressed every day and felt that her life was a perfect graveyard buried of hopes. Until this day, she was selected to go to an adoptive family in Prince Edward Island. Anne took her old suitcase and her meager luggage and waited anxiously at the train station. Her adoptive family was 2 siblings. The brother Matthew was taciturn and afraid of contact with women, and the sister Marilla was old-fashioned and serious. They were expecting a boy, but the messenger made a mistake. So when Matthew saw Anne, he didn't know what to do. But the excited Anne said that if she couldn't wait for Matthew, she would sleep on the cherry tree on the moonlight at night. The passion for life and the braveness in her eyes touched Matthew, and he decided to take Anne home. On the way back home, Matthew was silent with a lot of thought, but Anne felt like she was in a dream. Everything was so beautiful that it was unreal. She talked all the way, expressed her opinions on her red hair and the freckles, and praised the beautiful scenery on the roadside. When passing a road full of apple blossoms, Anne was deeply thrilled by this beauty and named it White Wheat Light. When the carriage drove into Green Gables, Anne looked up and down and couldn't believe her eyes. But just as she worried, she was dreaming after all. What the 2 siblings wanted was a boy. When Anne heard the news, her eyes dimmed and her heart was broken. She thought she was going to be sent back to the orphanage again, but she didn't know that Mrs. Bloit needed her to help take care of the children. But when Marilla saw the sarcastic Mrs. Bloit, she changed her mind. Aunt Marilla took Anne home and decided to raise Anne in her own way. Since then, Anne has been liberated, and her nature has also been revealed. Although she's smart and cute, her stumble, sensitive, and impulsive character has brought her a lot of troubles. The first trouble is that when the gossip Mrs. Lynde said that Anne was too skinny and her hair was like a carrot, Anne was furious and immediately retorted. In Matthew's comfort and Marilla's teaching, she realized that she should pay attention to her words and learn to be patient, and decided to apologize. Sincere apology brought forgiveness and also the opportunity to attend the picnic and meet new friends. But before that, Anne got into trouble again. Marilla's precious diamond brooch was missing, and Anne was the last person to touch it. Although she didn't take the brooch, she still used her imagination to make up a story, which directly caused Marilla to be furious and wanted to send her away. Later, Marilla found the brooch and realized that it was a misunderstanding and apologized to Anne. Anne, who had regained her innocence, could finally attend the picnic of her dreams. She met the beautiful black-haired Dinah, and the 2 became bosom friends. She met Gilbert, a handsome boy. She also met many people, including Philip, a teacher who was in love with a female student, and Josie, who loved to show off. School life also began. Anne became a deskmate with Dinah as she wished. but she got into big trouble on the first day. In order to attract Anna's attention, Gilbert deliberately called her carrot and pulled her pigtails, which immediately angered Anne. She smashed a slate over Gilbert's head, and the love-hate relationship between the two began. To get rid of the annoying red hair, Anne listened to the street vendor and intended to dye her hair black. However, she got a strange green-red hair after the experiment, which made her miserable and paid the price for her vanity. But after all the bad times, Marilla didn't blame her too much and decided to let her stay at Green Gables. Anne was so happy that she couldn't express it in words. Autumn passed and winter came, and the new spring came again. Anne began to show her talent. She had good grades in school, second only to Gilbert, who ranked first. The girl still couldn't forgive the boy who teased her, but she had a good relationship with Dan, the two girls grown up together in the beautiful scenery of Prince Edward Island. While the boy had new troubles. The good times didn't last long, and the restless Anne encountered new troubles. And at Josie's provocation, the competitive Anne decided to climb the house and walk on the ridge pole of the roof. As expected, Anne fell from the roof and sprained her ankle, but she stubbornly refused Gilbert's kindness to give her a ride, and leaped home with Dinah's help. When taking a shortcut through the haunted woods they imagined, the two of them were scared to death by the imaginary ghost. Anne fell into the dry well after skiing, sprained her other ankle, and fainted while waiting for rescue. From then on, Anne learned to use her imagination well. When Anne learned to be a hostess and invited Dinah to her house for afternoon tea, a new accident occurred. When preparing drinks, Anne mistakenly took the raspberry cordial that Marilla had asked for instead of wine. Dinah thought it was her favorite juice, and the more she drank, the more she got drunk. She drank nearly a bottle and stumbled back home, reeking of alcohol and vomiting. Dinah's mother looked at her drunken daughter and forbade her to have any contact with Anne. Days without good friend are lonely. Fortunately, a new teacher, Miss Stacy, came to school. She is elegant and wise, encouraging everyone to ask questions bravely. Anna's eyes sparkled. Anna was caught by Miss Stacy for reading novels in the geometry class she didn't like, but the teacher didn't believe her. She just hoped that she would be more focused. Regarding her friendship troubles, Miss Stacy encouraged her to look forward because there would be no mistakes tomorrow, and the truth would set her free. But Anna's shortcomings of indulging in imagination and daydreaming haven't been corrected. When making plum pudding, she forgot to seal the jar, causing a mouse to get into the pudding. Uneasy Anne secretly threw the mouse away, but didn't dare to tell Marilla the truth. Miss Stacy came to visit suddenly. Based on Anna's excellent grades, she asked Marilla whether she would allow Anne to attend the cram school for the Queen's College entrance examination. Marilla invited Miss Stacy to dinner. During the dessert, when the teacher was about to put the pudding into her mouth, Anne, who was feeling guilty, finally stopped her loudly, causing the teacher to drop the spoon. When everyone learned the whole story, they couldn't help but laugh. The river of life keeps flowing, and the girl grows up while correcting her mistakes. It is another snowy season, the Christmas is just around the corner. Marilla is going out with several neighbors to attend a political rally, and Dinah's mother still can't forgive Anne. By the fire on winter night, Anne was discussing politics, religion, gender equality, and other topics with Monsieur, and was suddenly interrupted by Dinah, who rushed in. Her parents were not at home, and her little sister suddenly had a croup and had difficulty breathing. The maid at home and she didn't know what to do, so she came to her good friend in a hurry. Anne was calm in a chaos. She asked Monsieur to call a doctor and took out ipecac, a natural expectorant. The experience of taking care of 3 pairs of twins before came in handy at this time. Anne began to treat the child, instructing the maid to boil water and constantly feeding the child ipecac, guiding the child all night. She saved the child before the doctor arrived. Since then, Dinah's mother's attitude to Anne has completely changed. She warmly invited Anne to dinner. Anne was finally able to renew her friendship with Dinah. As an honored guest, she was invited to the Christmas ball and stayed overnight in Dinah's guest room, fulfilling her long-cherished dream as an orphan. In order to let Anne to go to the ball beautifully, Monsieur overcame his shyness and went to the store. And the strange eyes of others, he bought her a light blue dress with puff sleeves. Anne wore the dress to thank Monsieur. This was the most beautiful dress in her dream, and the taciturn Monsieur gave all his love to this girl. Christmas is coming, and the 2 beautiful girls attended the ball for the first time, wearing the most beautiful dresses and the most elegant handbags. When Dinah bet that Gilbert would not dance with Anne, the competitive Anne was provoked again and mustered up the courage to invite Gilbert to dance, but was directly ignored. The proud boy didn't want to be controlled by the stumble girl, and the 2 of them were pulling each other. After dancing, the 2 girls planned to have a competition to see who could run to the bed in the guest room first. However, they didn't know that a lady, Dinah's great-aunt Josephine, had already been sleeping on the bed, and she instantly flew into a rage, accusing Dinah of being uneducated and telling her parents that she would no longer support Dinah's music lessons. For Dinah's music lessons, Anne mustered up the courage to apologize to Miss Josephine. Anne took all the blame. She stated that her dream of the guest room was broken, and she was worried that she had ruined Dinah's part as a pianist. Miss Josephine was moved by Anne's sincerity and imagination, and she calmed down and agreed to support Dinah's music lessons, on the condition that Anne would visit her in Charlottetown, and everyone was happy. At Josephine's invitation, Anne and Dinah came to visit her in Charlottetown. In Miss Josephine's maison, Anne found that the more material she possessed, the less imagination she had, and she would rather have more imagination. After hard study, Anne and Gilbert and others faced the entrance examination of Queen's College, and the 2 had to compete in the exam. After the Christmas ball, Anne had never forgiven Gilbert, and the turning point appeared on this day. The girls planned to perform Elaine in The Lady of Shalott. Elaine lay in a boat, drifting downstream, and died tragically. Everyone decided that Anne would play Elaine, so she let her hair down, closed her eyes, and immersed herself in a performance. Anne recited the poem, immersed in the emotions of the character, and was unaware that the bottom of the boat began to leak. Only when the water soaked her hair, Anne realized it. And hopped the pillar and the bridge hole where the boat was about to sink. Anne was soaked and embarrassed. But fortunately, Gilbert came rolling in at this time, and Anne didn't think like the girl in the story. She waited for her own rescue. Gilbert saved Anne. The young man sincerely wanted to be friends with Anne and apologized for the joke he made when he was young. But Anne would still stumble and refused to show weakness. But she learned good news from Gilbert that the two of them tied for first place in a Queen's College exam. Her intelligence and excellent grades won the respect of everyone, including Mrs. Lynde, who originally despised her. Perhaps because of her gradual maturity, when Gilbert showed his goodwill again and asked Anne to ride in the carriage, and finally agreed to ride with him, she also confessed that she couldn't be so rude after Gilbert saved her. The two young people finally put aside their past grudge and started a normal conversation. But the scene of the two riding in the same carriage was seen by the gossipy Mrs. Lynde, who immediately told Marilla. Marilla was uneasy like a mother, worried that the young girl would be hurt. In the days of getting along with Anne, Marilla played the role of the strict mother. Her frozen heart was gradually melted by Anne's enthusiasm and vitality. And as Anne grew up, it evolved into a strong family affection. And Monsieur played the role of a loving father. He bought all kinds of beautiful things for Anne without hesitation. Anne was about to give a recitation on stage at a concert at the White Sands Hotel. She wore a white organdy dress, and Monsieur prepared a white purple necklace for her. At the White Sands Hotel, Anne became uneasy because of the example of a professional reciter. But at the invitation of the host, Anne went on stage. She was nervous and didn't know what to do. But after seeing Gilbert, she overcame her discomfort and began her recitation under the attention of everyone. Anne's recitation was rhythmic and emotional, which attracted applause from the whole audience and even asked for an encore. Gilbert stood up and gave warm applause. He really admired Anne, but the two young people didn't have a chance to talk long. The day when Queen's College started was coming soon. Monsieur and Marilla went to the station to see Anne off, even if they were reluctant. The grown-up child would eventually go far away. The encounter between the two siblings and Anne was all providence. A new study began, and Anne and Gilbert became classmates again. She expressed to Miss Josephine her intention to obtain a scholarship. Miss Josephine sighed at the ambition of the young girl and advised her to leave some room for romance. When Anne finally mustered up the courage to develop her own romance, she saw Gilbert studying with a female classmate. She ran away and decisively torn up the note. The love that young people had just begun to develop couldn't withstand the slightest disturbance. Anne, who temporarily gave up love, devoted herself to studying and finally got the scholarship to attend university as she wished. The tide and the scenery were still the same. Anne returned to Green Gables and confided in Diana. She learned that Gilbert was about to teach in the local school, and Diana also saw through Anne's mind. She had fallen in love with Gilbert, but this feeling was like an unopened book, waiting silently. The quiet life was about to be broken. Monsieur, who had worked all his life, had a heart attack and fell into Anne's arms. He saved the fate of this girl. He decided to adopt her from the first time he saw her and give her deep love and endless peppy. Because of her kindness of love, Anne was reborn and thrived. But the old and the young also came to the time of farewell. the death here is so quiet and peaceful. There's no crying and wailing, only the calmness of people returning to nature. Anne cried late at night because she missed Matthew. While comforting her, Marilla couldn't help but feel sad and rarely expressed her love for Anne. The brother and sister taught by words and deeds like a kind father and a strict mother, so that Anne, who lost her parent at a young age, received complete love. Anne, who lost Matthew, grown up in an instant. If there was no big tree to shade her, she could only grow into a tall tree. She was determined to take responsibility and temporarily put aside her ambitions. Marilla was worried. Her eyesight was gradually declining. She was considering selling Green Gables to fund support for her future life. But Anne disagreed with her selling Green Gables, which was the most important place in her life. Anne told Marilla with a firm look that she would give up the scholarship and the opportunity to go to university. Instead, she will seek a teaching position in a town closer to home to take care of Marilla and Green Gables. Although Marilla didn't want Anne to sacrifice her educational opportunities, how could Anne, who was as stubborn as she was, change her mind easily? However, Marilla still advised Anne not to be like her younger self, who missed the beautiful love because of her stubbornness and unwillingness to compromise. If she was given another chance, she would definitely forgive the boy who quarreled with her. Anne seemed to understand something after hearing this. So when she saw Gilbert riding toward her, she smiled with relief. Gilbert handed her letter, which was a bold decision that Anne would teach at the local school, and he himself would go to a nearby town to teach. Anne expressed her gratitude sincerely. And the setting sun, Gilbert mentioned the joke he made at the beginning, carrot, and the faces of the two young people were shining in the afterglow. The road ahead is still long, but they can fight side by side. Anne of Green Gables was released in 1985 and is the first of 3 family movies produced by Canadian Broadcasting Corporation and Sullivan. The film is adapted from a children's novel published by Canadian writer Lucy Maud Montgomery in 1908. American writer Mark Twain praised Anne as the dearest and most moving and delightful child since the immortal Alice. Over the past century, the novel has been adapted into film and television dramas many times. The 50-episode animation Anne of Green Gables, adapted by a Japanese animation company in 1979, is very faithful to the original work. Hayao Miyazaki is responsible for the scene design and picture composition. It is elegant, pure, beautiful, and romantic. The most recent adaptation is the Anne with an E TV series, launched by Netflix in 2017. Over the past century, Anne has become Canada's most famous literature figure and has single-handedly driven the entire Prince Edward Island tourism industry. Ida Lake film from 1985 shows the British lifestyle in the late 19th century and early 20th century, depicts Anne's growth, and presents the vitality and imagination of this girl. In the deduction of family, friendship, and love, it embodies a friendly and optimistic attitude toward life, and the scenery, like oil paintings, is quiet and beautiful, showing the beauty of Prince Edward Island and even Canada, demonstrating the romance in Canadian literature. This peaceful and poetic life carries people's desire for simple happiness and the pursuit of the meaning of life. Welcome to subscribe to Floating Life, from literature to film. See you next time.